Relative minors, are they somebody in the family that digs for precious metals? No, that's not what they are. Relative minors are something else, but they could be, I suppose. Relative minors are one of those things that comes up quite a lot in my private lessons, people asking about relative minors. And one of the problems that we face is that relative minors have got quite a lot of names associated with them. They're also known as Aeolian, the Aeolian mode. They're also, I think in America, they're called natural minors. We don't really call them natural minors here in the UK, to my knowledge, quite so much. We tend to call them relative minors. And I think they're also called pure minors. Why give something one name when four names could make it really confusing? It's just crazy, isn't it? So in this video, I want to clear up any confusion that you may have about relative minors. I'm trying to make a difference and clear all of this clutter that might be around relative minors. We're going to look at what they are, why they're significant, and how to use them, and one really cool way of using relative minors in a major scale situation that's going to make you give you a very kind of cool sound. This video is for alto saxophone and tenor saxophone. I'm going to be demonstrating on both instruments, and I'll put a time code for alto players. I'll demonstrate on the tenor first, and I'll put a time code at the bottom for alto players so you can skip to that part of the video. You get a completely free of charge PDF with lots of information about relative minors. You just have a look in the description below and you'll see a link, and this is linked. You can have that completely free of charge, and everything that I'm going to discuss in this video has been written down on that PDF. I'm going to go through it with you and make sure that you understand it. If you have any questions after all of this, then just email me, lyndon@saxmadesimple.com. and I will try and help you as best I can. If you like my teaching style, and if you want me to continue making these free tutorials with free PDFs and sometimes free backing tracks, then do me a favor and click the subscribe button. That really helps the health of the channel. It helps the algorithm, whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but I sort of roughly know. But more subscribers mean that my videos get in front of more saxophone players, and recently guitar players have been contacting me saying that they're finding it quite helpful as well, which is just amazing. I never thought that would happen. So please do subscribe, and it costs you nothing to subscribe, and it really helps the channel. So I'd really appreciate it if you would do that. Okay, so let's have a look at the PDF, and the PDF says the term relative minor refers to a mode of the major scale. So a mode of the major scale just simply means taking the major scale and starting it on one of the points. It could be the first or the second note or the third note. So like the second mode of a major scale, you would start on the second note and go up to that same note in the next octave. And the term relative minor refers to a mode of the major scale. Specifically, it's the sixth mode, which means it's just the major scale but starting and finishing on the sixth note. And this is true for any major scale. If you take any of the 12 major scales and go to the sixth note and start the scale there and continue up until you hit that same note in the next octave, you are now playing what you can call the relative minor. As we've discussed, it's got a few different names, but we'll call it the relative minor. In jazz, we would call this the sixth mode of C, and it has a crazy Greek name, which is the Aeolian mode. And the Aeolian mode is the same as the relative minor. It's just the sixth mode of the scale. And what I've done is I've written it down for you. In the case of C major, it would look like this. I've written out C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I've made the A red so that you can see it's the sixth note. And so the relative minor is just the same bunch of notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And we would call that the Aeolian mode in jazz. And they both share the same key signature. So this is kind of cool to know, because if you go to a piece of music that has no sharps and flats as part of the key signature, you would instinctively think that that's in C major, but it might not be. It might be in A minor, and the clue might be the first note or the first chord. If it's A minor, then it's going to be in A minor. And that would be the same for any of the 12 scales. So if you saw a piece of music that had two sharps as the key signature, you would instinctively think that this would be in D major, but it might be in B minor. B is the sixth mode of D major. So when you see two sharps, don't automatically think that it might be in D, because it could be in B minor. And it says on the PDF, just as A minor is C's relative minor, C major is A minor's relative major. So it works both ways. Every major scale has a relative minor, and every relative minor has a relative major from which it comes. So then it says, why do I need to know this? Why is this significant? This is good to know for lots of reasons, not least of all, just to develop your musical knowledge and awareness. So when people are talking about relative minors, you know what they're talking about, and you can say, yes, that's the Aeolian mode, isn't it? Or in America, they call it the pure minor or the natural minor. Also, that the relative minor is often the go-to minor scale for classical musicians and songwriters. It does come up a great deal, and it does sound really, really beautiful. Also, if you're in a minor scale situation and you're playing a Dorian and the Dorian just doesn't seem to quite fit, try the Aeolian. Chances are it will fit perfectly, and that's a really good thing to know. So let's have a look at the second page. It says, now this is where it starts to get very cool, but if you're in a major scale situation and you want to add some gritty phrases to your sound, you can actually play a blues scale over a major scale situation and it will sound great. But which blues scale do you use? Well, the relative minor of the major scale that you are in. So if you are in C major, you could use an A blues scale, and the notes are A, C, D, E flat, E, G, A. So I'm going to demonstrate on my tenor, and alto players, if you follow the time code that I'm putting at the bottom of the screen there, skip to the video and I'll do it for alto there. Okay, so for tenor players, what I've done is I've got my fabulous backing track. Now I'm using Soul Jazz Funk Volume 3, which is a session band app. Very, very cool. And I've got it on swing beat. And as you can see, I've gone into here, made sure I'm transposed it for B flat, and that's my C major. So first of all, I'm going to just play the major scale. So here's C major. Now I'm going to play C's relative minor, which is A minor, and have a listen to the difference. It already makes it sound kind of interesting and cool. But now if I play the blues scale in A, and as we've said, I've written the notes down there, it's going to sound absolutely fantastic. It really just works. Now if I throw that around a bit, Doesn't it sound really very cool? So if you're in a major scale situation, you can play a blues scale, and it's just going to make it sound really interesting. If we go back to the PDF, the reason that this works well is that all of the notes except the E flat are familiar to the notes of C major. You could view the E flat as the third note of the major scale, which has been flattened. So this creates tension, and because the A blues scale also has an E natural, that tension can then be resolved to the E. So it's just like throwing a crazy note in to your C major, and this will work for any key. Anytime you're in a major scale situation, if you know what the relative minor is and you can play a blues scale starting on that note, this is going to work really well. And then it says, remember that the note that is not part of the family of notes of both the major and the relative minor, in this case the E flat, is a tension note, so be careful how you use it. Use the note to come away from rather than a note to hold on to. So if I just hung on to that E flat and just played it and played it and played it, it would kind of clash. So you just have to be a bit more careful about how you use it. And it says, in my next video we will look at a really cool way to work out quickly the relative minor and the relative major, so you don't have to count up the scale. So I really hope that you found that informative and interesting, and if you've got any questions about relative minors, then drop me an email at lyndon@saxmadesimple.com. You can also go to my website, which is saxmadesimple.com, and on the front page there's a search box. You can type in any search term in there and it will bring up all of the YouTube videos that I've made about what you're searching for, if you enjoy my teaching style. There's also some paid content on there, so if you'd like to download a course, that would be amazing. Anyway, I really hope you found that interesting. Do let me know in the comments below if you did, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Okay, take care. Bye bye. So this is for the alto players, and what I've done is I've set up on my iPad here, fantastic app, Soul Jazz Funk Volume 3. I've gone into Swing Beat, which is my new favourite, and I've set it to C major. I've gone into here, made sure that I'm on E flat, and I've got this beautiful backing track. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just C major over this, just to establish that sounds really good. Of course it does. Now, I could play C's relative minor, the Aeolian mode. I could play A minor over this and it would sound kind of interesting. Have a listen if I just play A minor on its own, the Aeolian or the relative minor. So that's kind of cool as well. Now, if I was in A minor, now if I play an A minor blues scale over that, this is going to sound absolutely fantastic. And I've written the notes down for you. And so let's have a listen to that and see how it sounds. Now I'm going to throw that around a little bit. It just sounds great, and it would just make it so interesting if you're in a major scale situation and you are able to play the blues scale. And remember, it's the blues scale starting on the same note as the relative minor. C's relative minor is A, so I'm going to be playing A blues scale over there. Then if we have a look at the PDF, and it says the reason that this works is that all of the notes except the E flat are familiar to the notes of C major. You could view the E flat as the third note of the major scale but flattened, and this creates tension, and because the A blues scale also has an E natural, that tension can then be resolved to the E. So you've got an opportunity with these, with the E flat and the E, to create tension and then resolve it. And it says, remember that the note that is not part of the family of notes of both the major and the relative minor, in this case the E flat, is a tension note, so be careful how you use it. Use it as a note to come away from rather than a note to hold on to. So again, it's a tension note, and if I were just to play that E flat over that and just hold on to that note, use it as a kind of feature note, it would clash and it wouldn't sound that great. But when you use it a little bit and come away from it, sounds fabulous. So it says, in my next video we will look at a cool way to work out quickly both the relative minor and the relative major so that you don't have to count up the scale. So I'm going to give you some really cool ways to think about it so you can instantly work out, or fairly instantly work out, what the relative minor is. Right, I really hope you found that fun and useful and informative. If you have got any questions, just email me at lyndon@saxmadesimple.com. And if you have got any questions, you could also go to my website, saxmadesimple.com. On the first page, there's a search box, and if you type anything in there like minor scales or 2-5-1s or harmonic minors or altered scales or whatever, it will come up with all of the free tutorials. Lots of them have got free PDFs, some of them have got free backing tracks, so it's a really good resource. There's also some paid content on my website, which I'd be really grateful for if you downloaded. There's some fabulous tunes now, and I'm building that up all the time. I'm working super hard over the next couple of weeks to get some really interesting stuff up on the website, which is going to be paid tutorials, but it's super cool. Right, I do hope you found that interesting. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Take care. Bye bye.